Joan of Arc, also known as Jeanne d'Arc, was a French heroine and martyr of the late Middle Ages. Born in 1412 in the village of Domremy in northeastern France, Joan was a devout Catholic who claimed to have received visions from God instructing her to help the French army expel the English from France during the 100 Years' War. At the age of 16, Joan convinced the local military commander to allow her to accompany the French army to the siege of Orleans. Her bravery and military tactics inspired the French troops, who eventually lifted the siege and went on to win several other victories with Joan at their side. However, Joan was eventually captured by the English, who put her on trial for heresy and witchcraft. Despite her protestations of innocence, she was found guilty and burned at the stake in Rouen, France, in 1431, at the age of 19. Joan's legacy as a national heroine grew in the centuries after her death, and she was eventually canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church in 1920. She is widely regarded as a symbol of French unity and resistance, and her story has been the subject of countless works of literature, art, and film. Here are some lesser-known facts about Joan of Arc. 1. Joan was not actually called Joan of Arc during her lifetime. She referred to herself as Johanne la Pucelle, which translates to Joan the Maid. 2. Although Joan is often depicted as a peasant girl, her family was actually quite well off. They owned several acres of land and were relatively prosperous for the time. 3. Joan's trial was highly irregular and biased against her. She was denied legal counsel and was threatened with torture if she did not confess to her charges. 4. Joan was not burned at the stake alone. She was accompanied by several other heretics who had been convicted alongside her. 5. Some historians believe that Joan suffered from a medical condition called temporal lobe epilepsy, which may have contributed to her visions and religious experiences. 6. Joan was not present at the coronation of Charles VII, the king whom she helped to restore to the throne. She was injured during a battle and was unable to attend the ceremony. 7. After Joan's death, her ashes were thrown into the Seine River to prevent her followers from collecting relics of her body. 8. Joan was not recognized as a saint by the Catholic Church until nearly 500 years after her death. Pope Benedict XV canonized her in 1920. One of the most famous myths about Joan of Arc is that she was a simple peasant girl who rose up from obscurity to lead the French army to victory against the English. While it is true that Joan was not born into nobility, she was not a complete unknown before she began her military campaign. Joan had been involved in her local church and had already gained a reputation as a pious and devout young woman before she became involved in military affairs. She also had the support of several influential figures at the French court, who recognized her potential as a leader and strategist. Another popular myth about Joan of Arc is that she was burned at the stake for heresy and witchcraft because she was a woman who defied the social norms of her time. While Joan certainly challenged traditional gender roles, her trial and execution were primarily motivated by political and military concerns. The English saw Joan as a threat to their hold on French territory and wanted to eliminate her as a symbol of French resistance. They accused her of dressing in men's clothing and of claiming to have direct communication with God, which were both considered to be heretical at the time. In reality, Joan's trial and execution were complex events that cannot be reduced to a simple narrative of gender bias or religious persecution. Nonetheless, these myths continue to capture the popular imagination and contribute to the enduring fascination with Joan of Arc as a historical figure.